Welcome to our first ever s'more content, which basically consists of us sitting around a campfire talking about the episode that we just played. This episode is filmed immediately after the recording of episode 53.
We're pretty much just going to talk and go off script, so there's no particular plan here. I just kind of want to talk with the guys and kind of recap how we thought the campaign went, some of our favorite parts, some of our favorite things that occurred. I kind of want to talk about each of the characters and where they want the characters to go. I want to do future campaigns in the same realm. So if we can establish just more things that exist, that's always good. Clarke, you want to start with art? I know you were talking about wanting to go back to school.
Yeah, so how many years past are we now, or are we still in the same timeline?
I'm thinking maybe give us like a 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, like...
Yeah, so I think after the battle with Dervost, Art immediately goes back and tries to finish his bachelor's, I guess, at Dragon School. 5 year mark, Art has joined the Burke Guard and is looking to finish his master's at the school. And then 10-year mark has decided that he is getting too old to be out in battle constantly and needs to try to find a long-term plan. And that has become potentially being the headmaster of the Dragon Academy. So that is kind of Art's goals.
Potential headmaster. Okay. What about like a general of the Burke Guard?
General of the Burke Guard, I'd say he would never actually win out versus Greg Jones. Guy's too good. I mean, Art really, he's not so interested in leading people.
Okay.
Definitely more interested in dragons and what they have to offer the world and in forming the next generation of dragon riders.
What about specifically a general? There's multiple sectors of the Burke Guard. There's actually 7 sectors. So, fun fact is we actually had a 4th member of this party that actually originally there was 4 members of this party. Clarke, David, EJ, and
Hey, that guy existed.
A friend of mine named Will, not Will Bredow. 2 people dropped out on session 0, and that's when we contacted Will because he had just joined our other campaign, and I really enjoyed my time with Will there. So I'm like, hey, Will, we just met you, but let's do this campaign together.
We like him.
But the other Will, his character was going to have already served 5 years in the Mahogany Prison Guard in order to get a scholarship towards Dragon University. So I had this pretty well-developed Burke Guard. So, like, you have the Burke Guard, you have the Voyagers, which were all about going and finding new islands, like, all about exploring. You had the Dragon Riders, which were about the dragons. It was the Burke Guard specifically surrounding dragons and how to use them in combat. Then you had the Mahogany Prison Guard, you had the Blackthorn Brigade, which was, like, the Blackthorn sector. And there was a couple other ones I already forgot the names of, but I have them somewhere in my notes. So, like, you could be, like, Dragon Riders general.
Okay. I hate that less.
Fair enough. Headmaster is an esteemed position. Gandalf would have to probably pass away before that opening.
He's old.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, like 10 years time. Yeah.
10 years? Like, I don't feel like that's crazy.
That's fair.
That old man Gandalf wouldn't have pushed up daisies by then.
What did I say? This was like the 50th anniversary of Dragon University, right? Is that what it was?
I don't remember.
Some anniversary. I think it was 50th. Maybe it was 100th. I don't know. Dr. Agan was the original founder, and he was the headmaster, I think, for 40... If it was 50th anniversary, Dr. Agan was the headmaster for 45 years. Maybe it was 20th. I don't know. Not important. Any other notes there, Clarke, or are you good there?
Overall, like, Art kind of is a simple dude. Like, he really has very few actual thoughts about like what the next day holds or like planning ahead in general. So I would think that like his aspirations would also not be very extravagant. So
it makes sense. Huh?
I don't know. I think I'm good.
Okay, so then we'll pass to Will. I know we've talked about throughout the campaign Delta Wing multiple times. As I'm editing some of the late 30s right now, it's like it gets brought up multiple times, and it's like, if only Delta Wing was a thing, you'd be here even faster, which I think is hilarious that that gets brought up a bunch. You want to tell me about Delta Wing and how you started that entrepreneur endeavor?
Sure. So Loaf essentially. So the first thing is, after the great battle, Loaf kind of found himself broke because he had to bring, out of kindness of his heart and what he felt like he owed Yori. He brought Yori back as well with what he could get, which was human. But he brought him back, but it made him broke. So he remembered that he had one particular skill that did, in fact, make him a decent amount of money. So he started making paintings and other art for Smeargold Museum to put down an initial.
I love
so
this.
he spent probably the first year for making art, legendary pieces known across the land, at least in Smearensburg, and made the money.
The Verbrant.
The Verbrant brand. So.
David, what are those, the Leitner books? The Leitner something. The Leitner...
Yeah,
The Leitner books?
Yeah.
There's a fancy word. The Leitner novels?
The Leitner library, I guess. Don't look it up because there's probably major spoilers surrounding Leitner.
Just for context, there's a podcast that I recommend called The Magnus Archives, and they have a bunch of magical
Very good.
books called the Leitner or something, the Leitner novels. And they're all magical. If you obtain one, you're basically about to ascend to deityhood, or you're about to go to hell or something. Something's going to happen to you.
Huh. They call it the Library of Jürgen Leitner.
The Library of Jürgen Leitner. So I kind of picture it that way, where the Verbrant series, there's a bunch of Verbrant paintings, and I kind of like the idea of a bunch of them being magical on accident because he's a wizard. And they have different effects to different people.
Nice. But yeah, so he did that, and it started his starting fund, where then he got with the bank and took out a loan, because then he could prove he had enough income to at least afford the size of the loan. And it helped that he was a help savior of the air quote, because he wasn't really, he was kind of locked up at the time. But anyway, he was air quote there during the Great Battle. So he got some credit for that. So then he used that, and he leveraged that to start up Delta Wing, which is basically like an airline business, kind of. It has a few facets to it. So he took advantage of the rising waters and like the, how people were kind of like nervous about what was going on for a long time to really catapult the propaganda regarding his airline business. But, after a few mishaps, a few lawsuits, he managed to work out a few things. And now he has a budget airline, so there's Delta Wing, which is the premier, and then Northwest Airlines, so not Southwest, but Northwest, the fake world, which is some offshoot brand with not as comfortable seats. But basically, he set it up where he'd get these huge dragons, and he'd install a apparatus on them, and and it'd have magical tinkery that allows refrigeration and vibrating seats, so people could like relax on top of the dragon as it took them to place.
I like it.
He made a lot of money that way. He had a few tours as well to the areas where the great heroes plus Greg adventured during the age. So anyway, yeah, so he's doing well now.
So I think the question that everybody is wondering is, does Loaf end up with Hermione? Do they get married? Do they have kids?
They do. They end up. So obviously Hermione has a good taste in men, and she realized as the gold flooded in how much of a good man Loaf really, really was, on top of her already current interest in him. So Loaf, knowing that, was like, well, Hermione is definitely the most babe in all the lands. So he was perfectly fine with that. They had a few kids. One of them was named Rye.
Okay. I like it.
Then another one he named.
Oh, this makes me so happy.
And so he had Rye. Yep. And then there was Hoagie as well.
Okay.
Hoagie. And they are expecting a third kid, but they haven't thought of a name yet. But it's in the works. So they're doing well.
Where did you settle down, do you think? Are you settled down in the outskirts of Burke, or maybe in Burke, or do you think you're in like Brat?
they didn't go back to Brought. They actually decided that they purchased a sizable amount of land near the edge, not in Mahogany, but the opposite side, near the edge side of West Palm Beach.
Okay.
So they're just kind of relaxing there by the beach side with their, nice land, a few,
I like it.
few workers working for them, a few goblins, they made sure the goblins, really, the goblins do not do anything stupid, because
They're reliable workers, you know?
Yeah.
If you just give them a very precise task, they'll get it done for you.
So, yeah.
They're cheap, too.
He also, just for the sake of it, he purchased the tourist trap and the music center on West Palm
Perfect.
Beach just because he knew that it was going to churn out money. But that
makes sense, yeah.
So that's all he did. So started, sold paintings, got the money, then, went to the bank, did all that jazz, built his airline businesses, moved to West Palm, married Hermione, and then bought the tourist trap just as a side thing.
I had a little bit of headcanon as a potential outcome for episode 53, the finale. We had talked about Loaf potentially dying, about how that was an option, something that we would be okay with. I had liked the idea of Loaf dying, and then Hermione being pregnant, and from y'all's original trip to West Palm Beach that happened in episode 50 or so, 49 or somewhere in there. That was my little headcanon of something that could have happened.
One thing I was not anticipating, but I was going to swing it by you, because I was thinking, okay, if I do die, how do I want to do this? The spell Wish. So suppose I died, right? With the spell
Sure.
Wish, I can use other spell of 8, 8th level or lower. The plan was, what I was going to use was the spell Clone. I was going to try to convince you, because you need a vessel, right? Well, what's a better vessel than a woman? So, what I was... sounds awful.
Oh.
I was going... I was going to
Continue.
make my clone in her womb, and then it would nurture and grow for 180 days, because that was the minimum requirement, and then I would be born again through Hermione as myself. Glad
You
I
were going
did.
to impregnate Hermione with yourself.
Look, I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't go there.
I probably
Maybe
would have supported that.
I'm just saying, because I would have used clone to rebirth myself through Hermione. Now she might have.
Oh my
but
goodness.
the thing is, I would get all my knowledge of who I am back later. But she wouldn't know the difference. I mean, I'd come back, she'd be like, "What the heck?" But then I'd be like, "I am back." So in a sense, I can make myself live again. Yeah.
It'd be such a Romeo and Juliet story where you would never get to be together again because you'd be such a a huge age gap, and you couldn't be with your mom, right?
I mean, okay, well, you can. Well, I mean, I just birthed myself through. I don't know with that. You never know. All I'm saying, it's kind of a leap, but I thought, well, okay, so with clone, it says the spell grows an inert duplicate of a living creature as a safeguard against death. This clone forms inside the vessels. Casting grows to full size maturity. I was thinking we could try to just make it instead of grows to full baby size or something. Try to squeeze it, because
Fair enough.
Right, in a sense,
We could play with it a little bit.
or it swaps my brain in the infant that's fucked anyway. Either way, I come back and yeah. So you can cut out a few of the curse words, but that was
okay.
That was the one thought I was thinking maybe I could potentially.
I think this whole portion. Is getting cut.
It might get cut. Who knows?
It's
but
okay. Well, you can keep the audio. If you have to cut it, then it's just a good idea.
We'll see.
It was an idea.
I don't even know what's happening.
I kind of liked it. I think the name of the episode will be "You Can't Be with Your Mom," but that's besides the point.
Oh my
We're gonna pass
God.
to David. Tell me about Yori.
Cool. I've completely forgotten everything that I was going to say. No, I'm just kidding. I think Yori, especially being pushed by Death's influence, is definitely going to be either helping the Burke guard or specifically him himself going and hunting down Disguised Toast.
Vigilante
'Cause-
style. Yeah,
Ooh.
Yes,
I like
correct.
that. It's like a. Are you familiar with Marvel with Endgame and stuff?
Not really.
I think
but
the
sure.
opening of the Endgame movie is Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. He's basically just going vigilante and killing everybody. A bunch of really important mafia people. And I think that's that's
Interesting.
kind of the vibe that I get there.
Sure, yeah. I would definitely stay in touch with my family, but I feel like Yori would definitely be torn to be like, hey, I'm not really your son anymore, kind of thing. Like,
Yep.
I'm not in the same body, so like, don't expect that. He'd probably wrestle with it and then eventually tell them like, yeah, like I'm a different person, kind of thing.
Fair.
Yeah.
Do you think you ever return to Elon Musk and reunite with or recontinue, not recontinue, but have a resurgence in your boxing career?
I think you almost have to now.
Yeah, like if money's ever running low, I'll just hop over to the city and meet up with Musk. Yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts? That's about right for Yori, I think, if we're just continuing to kind of work with death to restore balance, and then boxing career, family.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I got a couple questions I just want to talk through really quick. I have a note here saying, I wrote this one a while back, it hasn't really got brought up recently at all, but how many people have punched, slapped, or beaten up Malphite?
Oh, God.
Which I have here, we're not going to remember this anymore because it's such a long time ago, but Ace beat him up, stole his clothes. In episode 27,
we weren't there.
That
for
releases
Poor guy.
the Saturday after next. So y'all three, I recommend all three of you watching that one because it's a really good episode. I think it's just a solo session with EJ. In case you didn't know,
Yeah.
Art slaps Malphite in the chair. Loaf slaps Malphite in the chair in episode 8. You both slap him.
Hermione slaps him, right?
I think Hermione slaps him sometime later too. Yeah, not super important.
Remember her slapping him. I think it's very important.
What do you guys think was the most influential moment of the campaign? My answer, when I say most influential, I mean, what made a fork in the road that y'all took one of the forks and it changed the destiny of the whole campaign? And my answer was Will's decision for Loaf to flirt with Hermione. I did not expect that. Hermione was not supposed to be a main character in this story. I had never
That is
intended
so
for Hermione
funny.
to be a character that showed up more than once. So when he made that decision in the early 4, 5, 6 episodes, in episode 8, where y'all had to decide which of the quests you were going to go do, you were going to do the one for Professor Jessica, for Stoic, and I made the third one like, oh, let's do it for Hermione, because I had to choose a third person. And I'm like, hey, we've talked to Hermione once now. Let's just use her again, because Lo flirted with her. And y'all immediately went for that. And that basically just took the whole campaign that direction, which I think is hilarious.
Whoever we had picked, would they have been a Death Acolyte by the end?
I have no idea.
Because
I have no idea.
Because I know Hermione was, but
So something I've learned from this campaign, and so this is my first DMing experience, my first D&D, my first real D&D experience as well, is that I tried not to set things that had to happen. I tried to let you guys forge your own path, and a lot of prep doesn't get to be done in the foreground. A lot of prep is done on a weekly basis for the next session. And things changed. The original BBEG in my original concepts before the campaign started was death. It wasn't.
oh, interesting.
It wasn't Dervost. It wasn't a Darkin. I didn't end up doing anything with the Darkin internally until I gave somebody the Darkin dagger with a random roll in episode 22. And then
Oh, goodness,
that's actually
that's so
when
true.
the Darkin stuff was like, hey, this is actually a really good use of the bone stealing clan. I set them up in episode 9, in episode 10,
Midnight Train, right?
in the Midnight Train. So I took that and kind of combined those together. So a lot of what I wanted to do when it comes to prepping was less of set this exact story that you guys get to play, that you just play through like this linear story, and more of it's very much happens slowly. But certain things were prepped from day one. Stuff like the temples. You were always going to go to the 5 temples and restore Death's connection. You were always going to find the key, the anchor, put the anchor back in, solve the temples. That was always going to happen. The temples were always in the same places that they were. Episode 1 was when I gave you the Moana stone that you found inside of the Burke stone. I made the Burke stone really important in episode 8. Hermione was always supposed to be kind of a bad guy. Not a bad guy. She always was supposed to have a secret, which her secret ended up being that she was a death acolyte and that she was working for death. That wasn't always the plan. One of my initial concepts for a story plot piece was the Birkstone going missing. And Hermione was going to be the person who stole it. That was an original concept that I had when I was making that plan, which is why I thought it was really funny when Art accused Hermione of stealing the Birkstone. Because I scrapped that idea of her stealing it because it didn't make sense. Why would she steal it and then announce it was stolen? When she could have just swapped them in.
How did you get to that conclusion, Harrison? We have to know.
Talking to Haley, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Your wife was that's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did a lot of idea bouncing off of the wife, off of Haley, and she was like, "I'm like, yeah, Hermione stole the Birkstone and then she put this fake there, and then she was like, oh, the Birkstone's missing," and Haley's like, "Why would she tell everybody that? Just swap it out and you're good to go." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right.
Valid.
Yeah,
so true.
You're not wrong." So I think it was hilarious in episode 22 where Art is like, Art knows that it's fake.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hermione, I don't trust you. You stole it." And Hermione's like, "Why would I do that?" That was hilarious to me as well.
That's so funny.
I will say it pays for Loaf to be with Hermione as well, since she works for Death. So, like, maybe
True.
Loaf can get favors. Like, hey, they're trying to compete with our business, honey. Just straight.
Oh my
Straight,
god!
just murk them.
Just kill everybody.
Jeez. I know. Oh boy.
And if you have any things that you can think of off the top of your head that are like pivotal.
When we killed Doofenshmirtz, not saying that was like the most pivotal, but that probably
That was pretty pivotal.
It weighed a lot into later episodes. Obviously, when I was getting interrogated by.
Yep.
By and I held my own pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. That call though the end, that one was.
You did really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Art really. Clarke. Me waking Clarke up while he's asleep and calling him and asking him a question and him answering in the funniest way that I can think possible, and it just completely derailing Loaf's entire argument was the funniest thing to me.
Here's the thing. I even though I was like quiet about it and hush hush, I did ask David. I was just like, hey man, just hypothetically, if you answered the phone call about this question, what would you have done? And then David's answer would have followed in suit with what I said. I was like,
That's so funny.
I made it. It was still like a good episode. That was very fun. I was stressing EJ out a lot though. He wasn't expecting these
hands.
I don't know.
I
pulled some things out of my butt. Yeah, let's just say that.
You did. I did a lot of prep work with EJ, and we both agreed this should be a really open, closed case. You should be able to win this court case really easily, like unironically. I was thoroughly impressed by Will in that court case to get 3 of the 7 jury votes.
Yeah, it was hard. It was
so funny.
A few of mine. I think the first one, I shook EJ. That's the thing. My first gimmick.
Yes.
I shook him. His brain was like, nah, this is impossible. I was like, bet. You're facing Wolf. I'm the best liar there is.
Yes. I have a list here of questions that were set up that I never actually got to answer on the campaign. I want y'all to take some random guesses. We'll go through these pretty quick. We talked about the IBS club multiple times. Does anybody have any guesses as to what the IBS club was?
I was thinking like irritable bowel syndrome. I don't know.
That's a good answer. So this was something that Haley pitched, actually, which I thought was funny. I'm sad that I actually did it the way I did because it's the acronyms is with BS. It's it sounds like Birkstone or Birk Society or something. It was the Itsy Bitsy's Schlong Club.
Oh jeez.
Oh,
Schlong.
It's for the less fortunate. Schlong. Schlong.
Oh my god.
So
that would be unfortunate.
So each time that Clarke was like, "Oh yeah, Yori's less fortunate," you just said, "Add an itty bitty schlong." Nice.
Exactly, but your characters didn't know that either. So,
correct.
that is amazing.
Where do y'all think Mark went? Mark, the guardian of the market.
Oh.
He disappeared.
I 100% assumed that he was dead.
Okay.
What's his face got him? Doofenshmirtz.
Okay, so you think Doofenshmirtz's gone. What else? Any guesses, Will?
I'm trying to recall back, because didn't we tell Doofenshmirtz, like, at that time
Yes.
about Mark? That's the...
Yeah.
You told Doofenshmirtz that Mark was a lizard.
Yes.
Yep.
The next time you go into Doofenshmirtz's back, like his potion shop room, there is a aquarium of lizards.
Oh my
turned him into a
god.
One
lizard.
of the lizards was Mark. He polymorphed Mark into a lizard and had him reproducing in an aquarium.
Ah.
Reproducing? Oh my gosh.
Poor Mark.
I thought it was the most obvious thing in the world. I thought y'all
That
would have
poor
known that
guy.
and immediately saved the lizards. I
what were you
was shocked
thinking?
when y'all just grabbed the key out of it and moved on with your life.
Wait,
So
who was
I-
the one to grab the key again? I'm just
figured
trying to remember.
You did.
I did? Why would... Okay, that's the issue.
You can't count on us for
You
nothing.
can't count on Loaf to care
So
about that. He just saw the key and he's like,
Fair.
oh, there it is.
Yeah. I get it.
I
so funny.
didn't think he was polymorphing people into lizards. I thought he just killed Mark and he was like gone. Like I don't know.
I actually have one. Gandalf, and basically Gandalf bringing Art and the guys into his office to tell Art about the compass.
True.
And Art basically just like, no, not doing that. Actually, sorry, we just never did anything with it.
Y'all never pursued the compass, which I thought was hilarious. That's true.
Before
Yeah.
the campaign, did you ever intend to put that Panda Express there, or was it because of my comment I made, and you just decided, I'm just going to slap a Panda... I remember we discussed some
Panda
things.
Express was always in the Dragon University. It's based off of UGA, because I went to UGA. I had Panda
Oh.
in the center of UGA, near the I can't remember any of the building names, but there's a Panda that next to the Chick-fil-A in the middle of the campus, and I went there constantly. So that's why.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay, that's cool.
So funny.
And
I think it was the
wasn't
cafeteria.
the only thing that they served.
It was,
wasn't-
a bigger plate with orange chicken and fried rice.
Which
That was like your order,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's my order at Panda, and the Panda at UGA doesn't have a full menu. It only had like 3 things, so it had very, very, very small menu. So when you guys order really crazy things, I just gave you the default.
That's so
I've always liked.
Pretty stupid.
I was more of a Beijing beef kind of guy. I don't know, but I still like. I like
Interesting.
orange chicken. I mean, I like it, but like I don't know.
I love General So's.
Can y'all
Spicy.
open up the 12 rules of Berkstone Society for me really quick? I just sent it in books.
Okay, I was like, yeah, I definitely still.
Do not ever leave the door to the dragon den open. That never happened. Never provoke a dragon. That totally happened. Report all suspicious behavior to your dorm parents, professor, or your headmaster. That probably didn't happen. Probably didn't obey that. Respect your elders. Blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen. Always tell the truth. That didn't happen. No stealing except for fires.
Absolutely
That
not.
didn't happen.
Absolutely not.
Do not murder innocent people. That didn't happen. Always respect your chief of Burke. Stoic.
Amen.
Art did that really well.
Art did that great. Especially when I went into his house and completely destroyed him while he was nude.
That's true. Never go into the library at night. David,
That happened.
you 100% snuck into the library at night. Fun fact. Never buy or distribute boozled beans. You broke that. Do not cause a zombie apocalypse. I had intended for a zombie apocalypse to happen in this campaign. If you ever killed Count Deku, the zombie apocalypse was going to happen.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my
great.
goodness.
Do you notice anything on this sheet that shows you, like, maybe capital letters that shouldn't be capitalized?
Yes, I have been.
Yeah.
Ooh, if you do all of the capital letters that shouldn't be capitalized, it spells submerged. And if you had dunked your scroll underwater, it would have had a treasure map on the back.
You said submerge?
Yeah, it starts with
Oh,
Yeah.
suspicious.
S. So yeah, suspicious.
So, fun fact, that was there.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Interesting.
Something I had thought about, Clarke, something I had intended for you to be able to do was in episode 15, where you were going to have it to collect the turnips from the garden and collect the milk from the cows.
Mm-hmm.
There was also an inn that you were able to take a nap in that you didn't utilize. Something I had intended as a alternate solution was that if you needed more turnips, you could go take a nap, wake back up, go get turnips, and take another nap, wake back up and get more turnips.
I didn't have time for that mess.
you had time to take a nap and then wake back up, because that wouldn't have progressed your hour clock.
Really?
That's
Correct.
So dumb.
Why?
Because the way we phrased it was Clarke had 1 hour, right? It doesn't matter how much time passed in the book.
Oh, duh.
So you could have,
Dude.
you could have had an infinite turn up glitch. And that was an intentional thing that could have happened.
One of my favorite moments of the entirety of this season was disguise selfing myself as an Avalug and playing with that thing.
That was funny.
That was so much fun.
I still haven't listened to that episode.
It's a solid one.
It's a good
If I
episode.
say so
It's a good
myself.
episode. Deku's locked box, Iori. This is a you puzzle. You had a locked box from Count Deku's castle.
Sure.
A 3 single-digit combination.
Okay.
In episode 23, in the Death Realm, do you remember what was painted
God.
in blood on the wall with Count Deku's name on it?
I don't remember, but I remember it being numbers.
It was a code to his box.
That is so funny.
Jeez.
1, 2, 3 would have unlocked his box,
Oh my goodness.
and it would have contained his heart.
Oh, and then I could have just stabbed him.
You could have just stabbed him.
God.
Which is why he frantically wanted it back more than anything else when you came back to him.
Makes sense.
Another name that you had on your book of darkness was Veronica Nook. Clarke, you kind of mentioned, hey, I've seen a Nook before. Do you remember where that Nook was seen?
In the book.
In the book.
Yeah.
So, Tom Nook, obviously, right?
Yes.
He was selling you stuff at the general store.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember where you got the hidden immunity idol?
I think I got that
No.
while I was getting milk or carrots one out of the garden, didn't I?
Mm-mm.
No.
In the bottom right corner of the map, there was a grave site.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the one name that I gave you?
No.
Mrs. Nook.
Homegirl was dead.
Homegirl was dead, which
She was brought back.
a lot of the time, exactly. A lot of the time, I set people up as dead, and then they show up in Yori's book, which tells you that they're alive. But I give you evidence that they should be dead because they had to have died for him to show up in his book.
But I thought the book was like an alternate reality separate from Burke.
No, it's
Oh.
it's its own little place.
That's crazy.
It's like the storybook from Kingdom Hearts.
I had not, but I had kind of come up with it on my own ish.
Sure.
No, there's something.
Well-
Maybe it was like Shrek or something that inspired it, but
Sure.
I don't know.
Reminds me of it, though.
It does remind me of Kingdom Hearts, 100%. You're 100% right. I haven't played that in so long.
Can I ask, how do we kill Squee? How was Squee supposed to die?
There was a long-term plan that to get into the Fire Temple, that you'd have to sacrifice a soul. Similar to like getting the Soul Stone in the Avengers. You had to sacrifice a person to get it.
Oh, jeez.
When crunch time came down and we had to expedite things, that was, y'all obviously cheated your way into the Fire Temple or expedited your way in. So at that point, I knew I had to do something else. I gave you an altar on Treasure Islands that had
God.
something about an eternal sacrifice, and y'all didn't do anything with it, and it had a dagger on it, and I would have let you kill Squee there.
Jeez.
I can't remember what the quote is, but
Yeah,
we have it
I
somewhere.
remember it.
Yeah, there's something.
I think it's... Yeah, it's literally in books. Make the eternal sacrifice so that you find peace.
Yes. So if you had stabbed Squee there, you would have killed Squee.
How would we have not known? That's crazy that we didn't think to do that.
Definitely should have tried
Yeah,
that.
I thought it was obvious enough, but yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about, the Boozle Bean vision that Loaf had. Do you remember that vision, Will?
Jeez, that was a long time back.
Episode 4.
Yeah, wasn't it? There was a dragon involved, right? And it was like, I don't remember too much. Can you refresh my memory, because that was so long ago? And to be honest, I never,
Yeah, I'm gonna go
I
find it.
because I never did anything with it at all.
Correct.
At all.
Let me go pull it. I'm pulling it up right now. Episode 4, play.
There was a time when we visited. Oh, you're playing it. Never mind.
Oh crap.
Your 2 allies.
Okay, 14. That's berry blue.
Hey.
I think.
It's very
Yeah.
blue. Nice. Okay, go ahead. Roll.
God,
Go ahead and roll a d20.
Do I add
What a
anything to
terrible
it or no?
noise.
You do not.
Okay, 14.
14. I am going to tell you what you do see.
Do you want us to take our ears off real quick?
That is a great idea. So, William, just you and me here. I'm going to explain this little vision that you have. So you, along with your 2 allies, have walked into the mouth of a giant tree. You look around and there's spider webs everywhere. There's darkness and decay sprawling across the inside of this tree. And you hear a loud roar coming from below.
Okay. I'm typing this down.
So you walked into the mouth of a giant tree with spiders and spider webs everywhere.
He's talking about the Guifrog monster.
You hear a loud roar from below. Yeah, you walked into the forest temple and the Guifrog monster is below you.
Yeah, so Harrison, I don't know what you
was a lot
wanted me to
cleaner than I
do with
remember.
that piece of information. I don't think there was enough, but all right, I'll go with it.
I don't think there was anything that you're supposed to
I
do
know.
with it. It was just a vision of the future.
Yeah, I know.
I was really happy that I knew that would happen in episode 4. In our 3rd session, I had that planned in advance that I could give you that prediction.
Now, how
Which I thought was
soon
cool.
were you
That is
projecting
cool.
that we would actually go there compared to when we actually went there?
About then, I think. Maybe a little sooner, because I know that was episode 28 when y'all got there, which is a lot later than I expected the first temple to happen, but we did a lot of dilly-dallying with school, which makes sense.
Yeah. It seems like in the vision it was a lot cleaner than it actually was in person.
Yeah, you didn't say there was poop everywhere. Like, oh man,
That's true.
Yeah.
That's fair. That is
That was
true.
rough.
The poop did not happen. That was not an original concept of the forest temple. That happened. That I pivoted. That was a different temple that I had plans. That was not related to the 5 temples, and I ended up pivoting it to the forest temple pretty late. I think that's all I have time for. I think I need to get going. I like that I mentioned Alfred in episode 22, and then he shows up in episode 46 as Alfredo, and I think that's fun. Other thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to thank all 3 of you for being here every week and just being passionate about it. Will was really awesome. I really liked Will for his ability to put the party in precarious situations, for always looking a little deeper into things, like asking good questions, doing dumb things, and that made it more enjoyable. That made my style of D&D, I think, just better. Asking the right questions helps a lot.
I don't like to always be the. If you haven't noticed so far, I always have goofy characters. Like your campaign when we went to your house, I was playing as a barbarian, but I was using the sticky hand more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Clarke, I really appreciate you. You were amazing in making something out of nothing. I would just have dead space where I didn't have something planned, and then you would come in and you would just do something. Like in episode 17, I had the Trolsless Festival feast, and I had no plans for it, and then you just get up and give him the book. I think that was phenomenal. That was able to push a piece of the story forward. I wish we had gone back for the book so that he could go kill Veronica Nook. We never did. That's okay. Ran out of time, really. But you did a good job with that. And then for David, I really appreciate just being able to talk to you about D&D in general. We work really closely, so just being able to bounce a lot of things off of you helped me a lot. Your knowledge of the game, me being able to push people to you who had questions about their building their characters was a really big help, and I don't think I could have done it without you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I know Professor Jessica told all 3 of you that you were her favorite student. So you're all my favorite students. I appreciate that, and I love you guys, and I'm going to stop the podcast there.
It was fun. It was the best first D&D experience I could ask for.
If you enjoyed this episode of S'more Content, we're going to be releasing additional episodes in Season 2 and Season 3 and onward. So feel free to join our Patreon so that you have access to those as soon as they release. And this episode was voiced by Harrison Clarke, William Bredow, David Kelley, and edited by Harrison Weese. Please follow us on X at Tides of Terragos or on Patreon at patreon.com/Tides of Terragos.
a huge age gap, and you couldn't be with your mom, right?
You never know.
By the time this episode airs, all of Season 2 has been released on the Patreon, and even part of Season 3 has been released on the Patreon. So if you want additional content right now, and you don't want to wait 3 months for the next episode, please find us on the Patreon. It'll give you early access to future seasons.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my god.